So the UFO story in South Texas, is there anything to it? Let's check into it. So a few weeks ago, I did a story on UFOs here in South Texas. I wasn't prepared for the response that I got from this one singular story that I did on the topic of UFOs and UAPs. I was not prepared for it. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not an expert in this field. I don't know anything about this field. I've never really been around it too much. Like most people, I probably had a casual interest. But since publishing that video a few weeks ago, I've gotten over 200 emails from people. They say that they've hesitated reaching out to the mainstream media because they don't want to be ridiculed for what they're seeing. They don't want to be made fun of. They don't want people to chastise them for admitting that they're seeing things. And let me tell you where that stems from first. Now, I recently saw a report by my SA, the local news here, that was loosely making fun of somebody seeing something strange in the sky near downtown San Antonio. They were saying it could have been an HEB bag, a flying chancla, many different things. And the mainstream media was doing what the mainstream media does with these sort of things. And they make fun of them. They're lighthearted. They take it as a joke. But let me tell you, the United States government and governments around the world aren't taking this as a joke. And neither is the legitimate mainstream media. Let me give you a point. Obviously, the New York Times is taking it seriously. Many government agencies are holding hearings about these UFO, UAP things. And now I know that at least 206 of you from South Texas have seen questionable lights or things in the air that you can't explain. Some of you have sent videos, some of you have sent photos, some of you have asked not to be identified. I totally get that. Because when you see things like from my SA, you begin to think, if I go public with my story, I'll be ridiculed too. I'll be considered a loony, a nut, a freak. Well, not here. Now, I have to say, I'm not a believer in aliens, and I'm not a believer in the paranormal by any means, like of these things. But I do think that something is going on. One of the emails that I received was just this past weekend, and it was from a gentleman in Cotulla, Texas. Here's what he wrote to me. He said, I saw your video on YouTube and was really interested in this UFO thing. I live near Cotulla and saw some strange lights in the sky. Coincidentally, this is about the fifth or sixth email from people that I've gotten from people around Cotulla or Pearsall. But anyway, let's continue. They were not very big, but they were fast. Really fast, he says. There were about 4 of them, and they went from a few hundred feet above the ground, I guess, to below the tree line in the exact same spot. Interesting. He then says they would cling back up into the clouds and speed off. I saw them on Thursday and Friday night, both. A friend of mine said that he thought these might be either the Border Patrol or even the cartels. It makes some sense to me. Just curious if we were the only ones to hear of this. Or maybe if you've got any more reports of stuff like this. Sorry to bother you, but thank you. William. His name is William. First off, William, thank you for sending me the email. I appreciate it. No, you're not the only one to hear this. Okay? You're not the only one to see this. You're not the only one to report these strange sightings, especially off of I-35 and Highway 97 over in that area. you're not the only one. I personally have read at least 7 or 8 emails and gotten at least one phone call from somebody saying that they've seen lights around Charlotte. Now, let's talk about this in a little bit more detail. I have reached out to the U.S. Border Patrol. Crickets. I've gotten nothing. I've reached out to the U.S. Department of Defense spokespersons here at Randolph and at Laughlin. I've also reached out to folks down at Kingsville that I know, NAS Kingsville. Nothing. Now, I reached out to the FAA, and they say that they've reported nothing strange. Go figure. But yet, on the flip side of that, I've gotten reports from people that have seen everything from little cricket shapes, they call them, to cigar shapes, the typical cigar shapes. No flying saucers. Nobody has reported any flying saucers. Can you imagine that? Now, some people have gotten these things on cell phone video, all of them at night, of course. It's all been very grainy and questionable, and it's really hard to make out anything. So I don't want to share this with you, but I can if that's what you want. If you want me to make a video sharing this with you, I'll ask the folks who shared it with me if I can share it with you and keep them anonymous if they choose to be. Also, I think there bears to be some questions asked of officials here. Now, I've heard that these could be the drug cartels. I have heard that it could also be the Border Patrol. These things are mostly silent, though. But I'll tell you, I have a little trick up my sleeve, and I've been using it. So we've been using some pretty unsophisticated equipment to conduct surveillance. We've been using a regular radio scanner, some computer software, and we've been trying to monitor the frequencies that we know that these drones are operated on. Now, obviously, we can't transmit, we can't do anything with these things, but certainly you could pick one of these things up yourself for a few dollars off the internet. And with a little bit of research, you too could travel around South Texas and listen for these signals if you have the right computer equipment with the radio scanners and different things that I have here that I've picked up. I have been following this, and strangely enough, there have been some interesting signals coming across these things. Now, I have also ordered some satellite equipment that would help us track some of this data, and that is going on down here in South Texas. Now, some of the folks that are reporting these things are working in the oil field. I had one gentleman who wanted to remain anonymous. He worked in law enforcement here in South Texas. And I had another one that worked is in the Border Patrol that said he's seen these and he believes that they were cartels. Now, who knows? A lot of people have some serious questions about these UFOs. My question is, have we seen any that have crashed? To my knowledge, I have reached out to people and they tell me that they haven't seen any of these things crash. They've seen them dip below the tree line. They've seen them very close to the ground, but they haven't found any debris. Now, most of the people tell me that these things are silent. They barely hear them. There is a possibility that they could be military drones. I want to encourage you that if you've seen any of these things, if you've heard anything, if you have any photos or pictures, please share them with me. Unlike the mainstream news media, I will not ridicule you for this, because they will probably ridicule me too for even bringing this conversation up. That's how they normally do, because in the media, they think this is a joke. In Washington, it's not a joke. Now, recently around the country, there's been drone sightings reported. At least that's what we're being told they are. And there's also been a rash of these silver spheres. One was seen over League City, Texas, near Houston just a few weeks ago. Now, these things have been seen all over the country here recently, and nobody is quite sure what they are. I haven't had any reports of spheres here in South Texas. Most of the ones I've heard say that they're either cigar-shaped triangles, or a couple of people have said they look like crickets in the sky with multiple legs and multiple angles. leading me to think that these could be drones. Now, I don't know. I'd like to know what you think. Please drop me a comment and let me know what you think of these unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UFOs, or whatever you choose to call them. They could just be drones. And again, if you've seen one, please share your information with me. I'll link my email here below, and in this video you can reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. I've already had one very kind gentleman from the San Antonio area reach out to me by phone. Had a nice conversation with him. He's seen them. You know who you are. Thank you so much. I will return your call again. I promise. I just have to find some time to get to it, because I think you have a very good story. Again, he saw one of these UAPs, UFO lights in the sky things. Said it was maybe a tower or something, but it wasn't. Over near Charlotte, and I think they saw another one over near Lytle. So certainly these things, they're not uncommon here in South Texas. And the thing is, I think they're getting more frequent. And as people grow on social media, as people become more comfortable in South Texas with social media, I think the traditional media will have no choice but to begin taking this seriously. I would very strongly urge my SA to take these things very seriously, because if the federal government does, and many of your folks who do read your website and read the news take this seriously, maybe you and your crackpot editors should as well. Quit taking everything that's fringe as a joke. So that's my message to the mainstream media here in South Texas. I know that this is largely out of their pay grade, because it's not Fiesta or it's not some civic event or anything like that. I know this one's going to take some brains to unpack, and that might be above the mainstream media's ability to do, because I was part of that problem for many years. But now, coming outside of the mainstream media, I'm able to talk with people like you more freely. I'm able to talk with government officials a little bit more freely without being picked apart. I'm able to talk with people and understand this issue a little bit more. I've talked with some of my trusted colleagues who are in the mainstream press. In just a few weeks from now, I'll be traveling out to Las Vegas to talk with a very, very esteemed UFO expert. Hope you'll stay tuned for that. I hope to have that conversation sometime after the first of the year. So we'll be discussing these UFO UAP phenomenon a little bit as it comes up, because obviously it's something that you are interested in. And if you're interested in it, I think I should be too as a journalist. So please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I would love to know your thoughts on these UFO UAPs in South Texas. It's a really important topic. Let's have a discussion together. Please leave your comments below. Be sure to subscribe, because I have a very interesting interview with a UFO expert coming up sometime after the first of the year. I'll be recording that in the next few weeks. So anyway, take care. I will see you soon. And please share your UFO UAP reports, video and photo, or anything you have with me. Let's investigate this together, and let's get to the bottom of it. I'm Matt Pierce. Thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. It's been my honor, really.